everybody, here for week 2 with my good friend Chris Odell. Say hi to everybody, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
So Chris and I met, was it 99 or 2000?
Had to be really close to there.
Yeah, and we actually were introduced through your ex-wife, which is kind of strange.
Yes.
And I was going to see a little movie called Crux.
Right.
And that was our first time hanging out, and we just hit it off.
It's true.
And been friends ever since.
Absolutely.
And it's really funny because we went and saw Crux, which ended up being the last Entre Ali movie that was not edited by you.
This is true.
Isn't that funny?
It led down a long road. Yeah.
So, because right after that was Tragos.
Yeah.
Through the whole Timothy Leary, Robert Anton Wilson.
Yeah.
Entre Ali sort of. Little world.
Connection there. Yeah, that was enough. I was a real Wilson nut at the time, so that definitely helped. And Antro is, of course, a very interesting person in his own right. So, that made a difference. So, yeah.
Okay, so here's something. Speaking of Wilson, Robert Anton Wilson, you're probably one of the most well-researched and vocal proponents of marijuana reform law and decriminalization of cannabis. Yet, you're not a really big stoner.
Right.
So, can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think it may come from the days when I was younger and, fighting the man and whatever, but I did smoke a lot of weed back in the day when I was younger, and I always constantly felt really persecuted by it, and it was always this constant fear, and I kept thinking, how is it fair that we're going to lock people in cages for this? It just doesn't. It makes no sense, and I saw it as one of the bigger modern atrocities that's going on. I'm actually much less vocal about it now because it's come so far. I never thought we'd even be where we are now with it, and sometimes I feel like, why am I even bothering to say anything? Because clearly we've won, it's going in that direction, and I don't think you can stop it. But it's great to see. It's just awesome to see where it's come to. I feel so much better about the state of our country with this, and still there's a lot of other problems to look at now, but I think the progress has been great.
Yeah, and remember the first year of our friendship, we went and saw that documentary Grass.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite. Yeah, marijuana.
It's a really good one. See that Grass. It's a great documentary.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize how racist
the original marijuana laws. Yeah, sure. They were worried about the Mexicans getting crazy and raping the white women and all that.
And coming over here and taking our jobs.
Yeah, I find it interesting. They still, whenever they want to make it look worse, they always call it marijuana versus cannabis, which is really the more preferred, I guess. Say PC term, I don't know, but it's the more scientifically accurate term as well versus the initial sort of more racistly motivated term. Yeah.
So speaking of which, you've made distinctions about, your average layman might know a little bit about the difference in sativa versus indica, but recently you were talking about some distinctions in the
probably the CBD.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm not, not a great scientist. I don't memorize facts very well, but there's different components of marijuana that have different effects on people. I should say cannabis. See, now I'm getting caught up. That have different effects on people. One of them is the THC, which is what you hear about generally and has been increased over the years through breeding. That's the more psychoactive compound. Whereas you have something like CBD, which people are just sort of now discovering in the last year or two, that is a more calming, anti-anxiety, pain-reducing sort of a compound, and was actually being bred out in the high THC version. So it kind of helps balance everything.
Wild.
Yeah, so it's good to have it even in a high THC thing. Even if you want to have a head trip, it's good to have the CBD. And if you don't, the great thing now is that for someone like myself who doesn't really, I don't know, I can't deal with a big heady trip anymore. So I like just a little bit here and there, and I like to be able to smoke it casually. So something like a high CBD weed, they have those now where it's very, very low THC and a high CBD level, so you're going to get all the other benefits without having to, crawl up a tree because you took one too many bong rips or something.
So it is, not just euphemistically, but it is truly pharmacological cannabis.
Yes, and I like to call it Bud Light, but I love it. It's amazing. It's nice that we have the science now to sit there and to do the testing and the research and figure these things out and isolate the components that make up cannabis, because it's a pretty complex plant in the way it affects us. So it's great to see.
And this stuff we have today. People joke about the Rastafarians and Cheech and Chong smoking these big spliffs like this.
Yeah.
But they had to, because they didn't have the THC content back then.
Yeah, that's true. It's not just
what do you think it's increased by, like, 20, 50%?
A lot. I think what I saw most recently was maybe back in the 60s and 70s. It was you were generally smoking anywhere between, I want to say, 2 and 5% THC content weed, whereas now you go into stores and I've seen things in the upper 20s. So it's pretty intense. Back in my younger years, I might have really, really enjoyed that. But now it bums me out almost, because if I go somewhere and somebody offers me a little bit of weed, I don't even usually touch it, because I'm scared that even one hit and I'm done.
I'm a wuss.
Yeah, I tend to be too now. I need a balance, or if I've had a few drinks first, sometimes it calms me down enough I can deal with a little bit more of that. But yeah, it's a bit too much for me these days. Partially, and it could be my chemical reaction after many years of smoking it. It could be, all just stress and being, the stresses of being more of an adult and having responsibilities and running a company and da-da-da. There's so much to experience. I used to joke about how I'd watch Star Trek and go, well, I see why nobody's really doing drugs in space, because there's too much crazy shit happening all this. You don't need it, every episode some crazy alien showing up, you're getting warped in another world, whatever. So I feel like, but even our reality is getting a bit more like that, where you're constantly on information overload, and maybe you could shut all that off and kind of go isolate yourself somewhere and chill out, and still then you might have a need for a more psychedelic experience again. But yeah, you're right, I think just walking around you're practically having a psychedelic experience these days.
Life is a trip.
Yeah.
On that note, okay, so we're going to cut here and show you guys a little video. I'm dropping in the little vlog type parts from before.
Okay. So
we'll be right back with Chris and more info. Okay, great. So, here at Mauricio's, doing one of the food tube shots. And this is really great because they knew we were coming. They knew what's going on. They had some things prepared. They're doing some special recipes. And one of my favorite parts is I've got Chris Paul back here filming for me. So I can get some different shots. So there's a view into the kitchen. There's the chef there, Mauricio. So this is some great food. If you're ever in Morgan Hill, you got to check it out. But so this is going to be my 4th food tube, and you can go see them on the if you go up to my Duncan film stuff, you'll see the food tube videos. So far, this is one of the coolest ones. They've got a great atmosphere, great staff, great food. So I'll leave you with Chris filming here. Look at that. There they are. Okay, so we still have Chris here with us. And I'm remembering back, before I moved to the Bay Area, I was living in Marin, going to college in Marin, taking all these business classes, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And we batted the idea around for a while as teaming up on it, and we were going to do herbal cigarettes. Remember that?
Yes. I still have that on my list of things to do when I have lots of money to play with. Still on that list.
That was a fun time, though. We experimented with rolling the different kinds. And by herbal cigarettes, I actually mean, what was
truly herbal. It was a mixture. It was yerba santra, uva-ursi, mullein, mugwort, sage, a bunch of different
things.
I'm
not saying herbal cigarettes is a euphemism, by the way.
Yeah.
That was just,
True, yeah.
So, that didn't work out, and I just kept working and doing my thing. But you have actually bloomed and are a full-on, very popular entrepreneur. Do you want to talk a little bit about the genesis of that?
Sure. So as we mentioned earlier, I was doing video editing, video productions in general, and even though I'm pretty good at it, been doing it a long time, it was making me miserable, the same way I would imagine anybody's job that they hate would make them miserable, and it was just sad. I just wasn't liking it anymore, and I think life's a little too short to do things that make you miserable unless you're getting paid really, really well. And even then, probably not the best motive.
Right.
If you can come up with something else. And I did. I was sitting around. I had been doing mixed martial arts for a while, which I was really enjoying. And I looked and I was going, all right, maybe I can come up with some problem-solving product here. And I looked at my gym bag and I went, God, I don't like this thing. You know, it's basically made out of synthetics. It doesn't breathe, so I put in anything sweaty at all. And if I don't unload it as soon as I get home, like the second I get home, it turns into mildew, molds, turns into a science experiment. And even things that like you don't wash every day, like boxing gloves or whatever, they're not going to air out in a bag like that. It just gets nasty. So I've also been a big fan of not only the legalization of cannabis for casual use for drug use, but also I love industrial hemp. I just never could understand any argument against that at all. And you know, hemp is a great product that just works well for so many things. And one of the things, of course, is textiles. Mm-hmm. And nobody has ever taken that and put it into a more modern setting. Pretty much everything you see with hemp textiles, it's going to be your typical hippie marketed kind of stuff.
Right.
Not very
real pigeonholed.
Yeah, and it's never going anywhere for that reason, even though it's this amazing material. So I decided to marry those two ideas a little bit and said, why don't I make a gear bag that's not only made for our sport a little bit, but made out of hemp, and it'll have all these great properties. Be antimicrobial, it's breathable, it's good for the environment, all these different things that just make it kind of a no-brainer for me. So yeah,
and this is really taken off. I mean, your stuff is extremely popular. I mean, Joe Rogan's a fan.
Sure. Yeah, Joe Rogan. Tim Ferriss is on board with us. Number of other
Henry Rollins.
Oh yeah,
you went and delivered a bag to Henry Rollins.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of mostly his stand-up philosophy kind of work. And, so
stand-up philosophy. I like.
Yeah, that's what he is. So he was coming to town, and I said, "Hey man, I've always loved your work. Can I happen to own this company? Like, would you make use of a bag or something if I brought you one?" And and he really liked it. And the guy, I mean, he's never done a drug in his life. He's very kind of straight edge guy. Oh yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he's total straight.
I thought he was like a waste oil.
No, he's very much about I wouldn't put garbage into my fine-tuned motor car kind of thing. So yeah, very much. But I know you wouldn't think so because he has a pretty good brain, pretty good head on his shoulders. So he definitely thinks outside the box, you could say. So, but yeah, real straight guy. But yeah, he loved it, and he's tweeted about it, and I've had a few conversations with him since then. Really nice guy, by the way. Henry Rollins in my mind is just he's a remarkable human being. I wish we had more. Great guy.
So the name of your company?
So the name is
Datsusara. This is his logo.
Yeah, that's the Japanese mon or crest representing hemp. Oh. And so it's kind of, this t-shirt's a little beat up, but it's there.
And there's a whole philosophy behind that word.
Yes,
right?
Yes. So the word means to escape the salaried worker's life, because over there it's pretty much like, most people, that's their goal. I'll become a salary man, and that's their thing. And so that's just kind of a Japanese society thing, and I'm not even really paying homage to Japanese culture. In a sense, this is sort of a rebellious kind of punk thing that is not popular over there. But so it means to escape that life, to go off and come up with some other entrepreneurial pursuit or become a farmer or whatever, just to get away from that corporate slave mindset. And I think that's one of my other causes these days, is just to help people realize they don't have to be miserable 40 hours, for the majority of their lives, essentially. You can go and pursue things that you enjoy more. And whether that just means taking time off to do sports when you're not at your job, or if it means quitting your job and and doing something else, or just thinking about the things that you love more and getting more of that in your life in any manner, that's what it's all about for me. So, yep.
Okay. Can you see why the guy's so popular? Well, I mean, I'm not just kissing your ass here. I see on Facebook, I mean, you've got these devoted fans who love your product, have a really healthy dialogue with you as a business owner.
True.
I couldn't imagine a better model. And you know.
Oh, well, thank you. I try to be pretty accessible. I try to stay in real good communication with everybody, and I'm just amazed at how nice everyone is and how you put a message out there that you may think only resonates with you, but chances are then there's other people, and thanks to the internet they're easier to find, and they've just people just appear. I mean, I really don't do any marketing other than sponsoring 1 or 2 podcasts these days, but I don't do a bunch of advertising or anything like that. I actually hate ads in general.
Right.
But people just found me, and there's people who are just love the brand and love what I'm doing, and I don't push it on anybody.
Right.
So it's just amazing.
It just clicks. I mean, I'm tempted to, kind of talk, relate it to Buddhism a little bit, as in, right thought, right livelihood, right action, and it just seems like you've got all the things are clicking there for you. So
yeah, I think, and that's the whole part of the dots. It's like do what. Go to your calling, go to your whatever. You could go Joseph Campbell on and say follow your bliss, whatever. And I'm not going to say every day is blissful doing this job. It definitely has its complications, and I may not do it forever, but it feels a hell of a lot better than when I was fighting myself just to try and make a buck. I was going, I hate what I'm doing, but I've got to make a buck. And I think if you at least open yourself to the possibilities and give it a shot, you never know what might happen. And if you get on that right path, things, doors open. It's nice.
Nice. Yeah. Well, great, Chris. I think we're going to go in a little break and then come back and talk a little bit. I want to touch on your video editing stuff a little bit. Let's see.
Berkeley, Telegraph Avenue. You can see this facade behind me here. This was a big building that went way high, like this high. And then it burned down. And there used to be a restaurant here and another restaurant, all these places. So this is like classic Telegraph Avenue that is no more. My friends Jackie and Katie used to live in this apartment building, so it's kind of neat. It's kind of sad, but it's also interesting that they have the facade there. They kept the front of the store. So there's your little Berkeley moment for you. Now it's off to eat lunch at Cancun with a friend. Here it is from the other side. Well, since I am in Berkeley, talking about past memories, check this out. It's the Santina house. That is the house that Julie and I lived in, right there, when we both moved to Berkeley. And probably just about every friend I've had has been in the house. We had the whole lower level, and then we had neighbors upstairs, and we would have house dinners and parties and stuff, and it was really, really fun. Lots of fun memories, lots of fun times. I'll show you the sign above it and a few other relics, but there's a sign above it that says Santina House, and we never figured out what that was about. I looked on the internet and everything, never found out. Lived there for like 4 years, so it remains sort of a mystery. Alright, now let me show you some other details. So there's the sign, the mysterious Santina House sign. There's the porch. There's the bush, the trash cans, and you see that reddish paint there on top of that one trash can? That is from me painting, spray painting something, like over 5 years ago. Alright.
Okay, back here with Chris Odell. We're going to close it out here talking about, so when I first met you, you were doing video filming and editing.
Right.
And the subject was, to me, kind of odd, very strange. So Can you talk a little? What was that all about?
Well, I've been doing that kind of work since high school, really. I mean, I really didn't. I tested out of high school very early, but the only class that I really ever showed up to for the first 2 years that I was technically enrolled was my TV productions class, because I always just kind of I've always liked movies and TV, and I had fun playing around with cameras and whatever. So I learned to edit when I was a freshman in high school, and just kept doing it from there. Took a few years off, and then I ended up going to Academy of Art for basically just for a semester.
Oh, I didn't know
did
that.
a little more editing. Yeah, so technically I've had some college, I guess, even though I've tested out of high school. So on those forms, I got to check some college, but hardly counted. And yeah, but so I had a little bit of work there, and it was one of the few things that I saw that I could do that I enjoyed, that could make me enough money to also get by. And at the time when I got into it, editors were much more rare and much more well paid. Right. So it actually looked like there might have been a little bit of a future in it.
But you were filming surgery.
Oh yes, okay, sorry, yeah.
That is nuts.
I was doing that for a while. Yeah, I had some connections in the medical community because my parents founded an endoscopic company when I was pretty young at the time, and so yeah, I knew some different doctors and things, and one of my cousins had set up a company that basically, that was part of what they did. It was patient and doctor education, and yeah, we'd film surgeries. So I'd get up in the morning, which was the worst part of the job, really, super early. Right. Go out to San Ramon, and we'd film surgeries.
What's one of the wildest things you ever do? Like a hip replacement?
The worst were the back surgeries, because I mean, most of the stuff I filmed was just, it's all endoscopic or laparoscopic, and so it was just basically they poke a couple holes in you, and they do a stomach wrap or something like that, and it's not too intense. They don't even have to really make a deep and serious incision. Whereas the back surgeries, I was shocked the first time I saw one of those. I mean, they cut you open, and then they're taking things that look like shop tools to your back. It looks like taking a hammer and a chisel and go whack, whack, and it's some pretty gruesome stuff. But I loved watching it, and that's it didn't faze me. That was
right.
part of the reason I got hired for the job is also just because I wasn't going to faint in the OR. I mean, in fact I honestly, it's a little weird, but I'd watch all this stuff on the cameras, the internal cameras, and I'd be thinking about steaks. I so bad. I'm like, God, I could have a steak for lunch. That looks really good because so bad.
That is funny. And you did that for like a few years, right?
I think so. I don't know if it was that long, but yeah, for a little while. Yeah.
And then after that, filming.
I did some of that, but when I first got into video, I was trying to just work with artists, because I thought, there's enough artists in the Bay Area, they need somebody to work for a reasonable price, and maybe I'd go out and I'd find like a band that I liked, but nobody had done videos for them, and or Chicken John's events or whatever, and I would go and film them or video them, whatever, and then I would make a little video and edit it, hand it off to them, and go, hey, would you like to hire me maybe for the next gig?
Right, I remember that, because you very nicely filmed my band Bloodsickle. You filmed like 6 or 7 of our shows,
I think. Yeah, it was quite a few.
And then you also did Mongoloid.
Yeah, did Mongoloid.
The Devo cover band.
Yep.
So then you did a bunch of that, and that was pretty cool. I still have to edit all that together now. But do you feel tired after lunch a little?
Yeah. A little bit. I mean, with the whole baby thing and the random sleep schedule, I don't really ever feel tired, and I don't really ever feel awake. So I'm just kind of on this weird semi-zombie roller coaster.
Like a liminal existence, sort of,
it's
between the worlds.
A little strange, but I'm good.
Well, hey, Chris, thanks a lot for being my guest on here.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's going to enjoy it, and at the end of the video, during the credits, we'll put your website and whatever else you want people to know about. And check out Chris Odell. I'm happy to introduce you guys to him. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I know that 20 minutes is a long time to take out of your day, but I'm doing my best to make it worth your while. Peace.